Bournemouth's training facility, and this we'll relate this to West Ham. You don't have to worry about it. It's there you go. You can see it over the water. Big car park. It looks fancy.
Mm-hmm. Very fancy.
They've really gone mad with the drone on this one. Oh wow! Nah, that was virtual. It's not a drone. It's virtual. Obviously, it's not built yet. I'm thinking it's real. Look at that. I mean, that looks very fancy.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the press conference room there.
Which is
not a porta cabin in sight.
No.
Oh, a bit of a bendy, windy hallway. Changing room. God, look at that. Look at that. Still like all this. It looks proper. It looks proper. Yeah, it's still the same old crap at West Ham. Like we haven't bothered. And look, they're a club with an 11,000 seater stadium. They're obviously going to upgrade that. But the size of
their training facility is better than their stadium.
Yeah, it is. It is. And this is the thing. Like you got Leicester. And I know, Leicester got relegated, and it's not. But as a club, we should be striving. Like you said, the 17th richest club in the world. We have ambitions of being a regular European club and one of the top clubs. We should be aiming to have some of the best facilities going.
Yep.
We lucked out on not having to buy and pay for a stadium. We haven't had to spend our money to build a stadium. We've saved all that money. So we rent. So why can't we have top level facilities? Why are we still in like geography classrooms?
Yeah. And that's the thing, mate. It's just cheap. It's just cheap. Yeah. It was a cheap rebuild. When they done Rush Green up, it was a cheap rebuild. You know, and that's the thing about it. It just screams typical of what we've got in the boardroom. You know, and this is the problem. You can't listen. A training ground doesn't make that much of a big difference, but when you think about the amount of time the players have to spend at the training ground compared to the stadium, you know, if you're working in a nice office, it's better, you know, you feel more relaxed going into that office than you do if it's a crappy building that's falling to pieces. You know, and this is the thing. It just, for a Premier League club, and you know, we are an established Premier League club, that you've got to have better than that. You've got to have better than that. And you know, it just, at the end of the day, like you said, Leicester have got a brilliant one. They've just been relegated. You know, it's not the be all and the end all, but to make you more of an attractive prospect, have a decent training facility.
Yeah,
you know, because when you're selling the club to a player, you're selling the whole club.
Yeah.
You know, and the training facility is part of the club. Like I said, that's where they are every day or every other day, whatever it is, the amount that they train. You know, that's where they've got to be more comfortable, more relaxed.
Yeah, and this is and we've said that on this show for years and years and years. The importance, because, like you said, they're there more than they're at the stadium. This is where they spend their time, so they want the best facilities. And you go to a club, and now you look at Bournemouth, and you look at West Ham's facilities. They're going to look who looks like the bigger club. Bournemouth do. Like they go to that and they go and sit there and they do the meetings. They're like, "Wow, okay, yeah, this looks proper from what I'm come to." And then they go, "Right, I've got to meet with West Ham." Oh, right, what the fuck's this? It looks tin pot. And you know, the thing is, people always used to some people used to say, "Well, you know, if we spend money in a new stadium, we can't have signings." What do you want? Do you want signings or do you want a new training facility? And the thing is with that is Sullivan doesn't stick his hand in his pocket for anything. What we spend on transfers is the club's money, or if there's investment from a Kretinsky when he's put money in and things like that, we've spent that. So there is no reason David Sullivan can't stick his hand in his pocket if he is a fan and he does care and he does want to see this club succeed and build us a new training facility, because I'm pretty sure that don't come into FFP. Like if we can spend 100 million on a training facility and it doesn't count towards our PSR and FFP, because you know what we're doing is actually investing in something that's worth of money. We're not buying players. So we should be able to have a healthy transfer window, which we're spending the money the club generates through being in the league, TV, all of that, season tickets, player sales, right? We should be able to have a over £100 million transfer window and spend 100 million on a new training facility. There's no reason we can't have both. One's the club's money, one's Sullivan's money. Sullivan does not stick his hand in his pocket, the so-called West Ham fan. He don't stick his hand in his pocket for this club. No, and we should demand more.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Yep. That's the problem, mate. And this is what it says. You know, it just reeks cheap. Everything, and this is the look. I'm not sitting here and saying we haven't spent money on players, but like you said, it's West Ham's money, right? Yeah. But everything about us is cheap.
Yeah. You know, that's Matt Rainey's himself. Yeah.
And perfectly right. London Stadium, cheap decor, temporary stickers, portal cabins for a training facility, cheap. You know, and this is the thing. You know, you again, 17th richest club in the world.
Yeah,
and you've probably got look at them 16 teams above us. Look at their training facilities. Look at the stature of their club compared to ours. Yeah. You know, and this is the thing.
The one club that we could compete with for shittest training facilities was Newcastle when they was having them in them wheelie bins. But they've long since upgraded since, you know. So, yeah, we are in danger of getting left behind by other clubs because they're all either, you know, moving into new purpose-built stadiums or, you know, developing their football stadiums into bigger football grounds, right? All of them. Bournemouth, Everton, Newcastle, Villa have got a really good ground. Would it surprise me if they try and extend it? So all these different clubs have got purpose-built football grounds that they're either expanding or building a new purpose-built football ground. We are the only club in the Premier League with a crappy athletic stadium that's not suitable for football. The only one. So we have a shit stadium, shit training facilities, and right now a shit squad and a shit owner. So we are majorly in danger of being left behind in this football league, and it is getting harder and harder each year that the league and more competitive. We're seeing that with what Fulham has been able to do, what Bournemouth's been able to do, what Brentford have been able to do, and now those clubs are going to start being more of an attractive prospect. You know, because what do we have? We have London. Well, Fulham and Brentford have London.
No, right, that's the thing, mate. You are right in what you're saying. You know, it is the attractiveness of the thing. And, you know, you're sitting here languishing in 17th position in the league. You know, these clubs are more attractive now. You know, you've got Fulham knocking on the door of Europe, a place where we've been that we've now let ourselves drop out of. You know, due to certain poor management, poor recruitment, and you know, it's going to be an interesting transfer window coming in the summer, mate. I really do feel that is, you know, we're going to end up paying over the odds for players or over the odds wages because of the situation that we find ourselves in at the minute. And the unfortunate thing is that's what we're going to have to step up and do. You know, and you know as well as I do, we can't trust the hierarchy to do what needs to be done.
No, and that's the thing that I was so encouraged. I was never like fully optimistic with Sullivan like that. I always had that back in my ball, Sullivan, but I was encouraged that, you know, when we brought in Steidten, even if you don't like Steidten, the idea of the position that Steidten held, right? Finally, we're getting serious people to come in and make like football people making football decisions. I was so encouraged by that. And they didn't even give it like a full year, really. Yeah. It was like, didn't get a full like transfer window. Like this last summer was the first summer where he had complete control. And by January, he was gone. So we didn't even give it any significant time. And they've decided not to replace his role and we're just going back to Sullivan doing everything. It's so frustrating because no other club has that. We've got so many disadvantages that we place on ourselves because we should have every advantage because we are like one of the richest clubs in London. We do have a big fan base. We do have lower overheads because of the deal we've got with the stadium.
Yep.
We are in London in a good location, Stratford. We've got so much going for us that it's like we don't just take the wins. We have to give ourselves handicaps. And that's what it is. So I'm concerned for the next season. For me, it's all on the recruitment. Moyes was successful in spite of David Sullivan, and Graham Potter is going to have to do the same.
Yeah, of course. And like you said, mate, the recruitment's got to be on point. But you've got to. We can't go down this route of, if the rumours are true, 2 players being Stuytons, 2 players being the managers, 2 players being Sullivans. There was a comment earlier, going back to the John Stones thing. John Stones has got the same agent as Somerville. And this is the thing. Are we just going to get players off of the same agents who are mates with Sullivan, who do deals with Sullivan? This is the thing. And like we are standing still. We are. We didn't really progress after the Conference League win. That was a typical standstill moment, and we ended up going backwards. And now we've fallen even more backwards. And let's be honest, we could all sit here and say it. If it weren't for the fact that 3 teams are 10 times worse than what we are, we'd be down. And that's how you got to look at it. And it's West Ham as a history has always had, poor seasons, good seasons. There's never been that consistency of, we've been good for X amount of period and then we have this bad season. Normally we have all right seasons, a good season, then a really bad season. It seems to be the trend that we continuously go. So, hopefully next season now we start to bounce back, which we need to do. Because let's be honest, if we start next season the way we are now, we're going to be in a dogfight from day one.
Yeah,
100%. Even with the sides that are coming up.
100%, mate. Carl says, hi, Dan. I think Man City's was an athletic stadium for the Commonwealth Games. Love it in the show. Yeah, it was, mate. And I did think someone would point that out. However, the reason why I don't put them in the same bracket as us, because they converted it into a proper football stadium.
Well, if you actually go back to when it was being designed, they designed it with football in mind because they saw a use for the stadium once I think it was the Commonwealth Games had gone. Unfortunately, because you had some bloke sitting on the committee who was like, no, it's just going to be an athletic stadium. We don't need anything else, thinking that athletics is one of the biggest sports in this country when it's not.
Sebco, yeah.
Yeah, and the good thing for athletics is he's not going to be running it, which is what we all want to see. But at the end of the day, it's his fault and the other people that were on that board at the time designing it, why we've been not lumbered because we chose to take it over, but why the taxpayer, and you're unfortunately, Dan, you're a London borough, so you're paying your council tax towards paying off that stadium, so you do have an opinion on it. I'm in London, well, my mum did live in London, obviously. They've lived in London, they were paying it. So technically, it's a Londoner stadium. You're all paying for it, all you that live in London, and you're still paying for it. It's great watching monster trucks driving around the pitch and all that. It works well for that. It's a good stadium, just not for football.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that's so frustrating. And people have been sharing the quotes from like all the things Sullivan said about it, how it's going to be, just like Wembley. It's going to be a new Wembley and all of this stuff. And I just think like everything about this club under Sullivan is so tin pot and cheap and just naff, for want of a better word. Everything we do, for the most part. And it's an embarrassment as a club that wants to have ambitions and designs of growing. And you look how other clubs do it, and it's frustrating. So yeah, there is always a worry about us getting left behind. You got Leeds and Bournemouth coming up. Leeds as well. They're expanding Elland Road.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be building
big fan base.
Yeah. So if Leeds can stabilize, expand there, I think they expand it to like 60,000. They're turning it to a 60,000 seat Elland Road. They're staying where they are, expanding it, and if they do that, they could be a club as well that leapfrogs us.
Yep. Yeah.
We've seen so many clubs come up, like Forest, Villa, Newcastle, were all in the Championship when we was in the Premier League.
Yep.
And they all come up and have either got Champions League football or have actually come close to getting it. Forest may get it. If Forest get it, that will be 3 clubs that were in the Championship when we was in the Prem who have got Champions League football, and we haven't. So all this stuff about West Ham, you could never. There's 5 places like lately. If we were serious, we could. Why can't we? If they can get it, why? But they've leapfrogged us.
And that's the thing, mate. And that's where it's about being consistent. You know, we had 3 seasons of European football. You know, and that was the most consistent that we've been with in Europe. You know, and this is the thing where we've then gone backwards because, like you said, you know, that season when we got into Europa League, the first season, and then we were pushing, you know, to try and keep up. You know, we didn't do the right things in January. How many times have we not done the right moves in January when we've got that opportunity to push that one step further? I think if you look when we qualified for Europa League in the first season, I'm sure there was a point in January where we're like, we need a striker. If we go and get a striker, we're going to make that extra step. And same as in the Conference League, when we were still, you know, we were still fighting on 2 fronts. We were trying to get into Europe via the league, but also trying to get into that final. You know, and again, January come, we didn't take that opportunity. The season when we got knocked out of Europa League, again, January come, we had an opportunity. We had the chance to go and sign players to take that next step forward. We choose not to. And we've stood still and stood still and stood still. And like you said, mate, other teams over the top, leapfrog. And we've just dropped down and down and down and down. And it is now, as I said earlier, it's down and down and down. There's only one place to go unless you pull your fingers out and get it sorted. And that will be down. And then you become the biggest laughing stock in English football to have a stadium the size that we've got and to be playing in the Championship.